Hey guys, Brendo New Productions here, and welcome to another installment of the How to Implement a MySQL Database into Your VB.NET Program series. Now I'd like to start off with this video saying that I've gotten my new website design up and running. It is at this test URL up here, which will be in the description if you'd like to view my new website. It's got a very nice design, a mission statement, newsreel down here, links to websites, and a new blog, and then we've got this cool little slideshow up top. But besides that, let's get started with this tutorial. So this tutorial will be on how to hold on, let me get this candy out of my mouth. Alright, so this tutorial will be on how to actually retrieve data from certain username and password combinations and then edit that data inside your software. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is actually go into our database and add a couple more fields. So I'm just going to press down. Alright, let's see if I can figure out how to do this. Okay, you need to press structure, right? And then we're going to add 3 fields at end of table. And we're going to go ahead and do that now. So we're going to name a field called name, favorite color, and let's something else, I don't know, favorite food. Make sure everything is 255 in length, and then we can just go ahead and save. So what we're going to do is actually link certain names, favorite color, and favorite foods with actual username and passwords now. So I'm just going to go ahead and edit mine and make my name Brandon, my favorite color red, and my favorite food spaghetti. Going to insert that information and then press go. Alright, so now the information is entered into our actual database. So now what we need to do is access it from our actual program. Now here is our little login form that we made in parts, I think it was part 3 and part 4. And I'm just going to resize it and make it a little cleaner. And then what we're going to do is actually make a new form where you can view, let's just say, information about what's in the database. So this one's just going to be called Form 3. And so the first thing we need to do is actually link the forms, so when you log in, it shows Form 3. So we're going to show Form 3 and then close out of the login screen. And now that we're at Form 3, we can go ahead and get started right away with the coding and actually getting the data implemented. So the first thing we need to do is have a view of every single person on the database. We can easily do this with a list box provided here. So the first thing we're going to do is actually add all of our database information into this list box. So as you remember from the first tutorials, first thing we need to do is import the MySQL component into our project. And then as soon as the form loads, we're going to have to fill up that text box. So what we're going to do is just type in the code. DimCon is new connection. We are making a new connection, MySQL connection. We are just simply setting up the parameters to access the database right now and gather information. So we're making a new connection, and we actually need to get rid of this new right here, and then we're making it a new connection, and then we need to specify a connection string, which we can probably find on our form 2. And look, there it is. So we're just going to go ahead and copy this over to form 3. And this is not connection, it's MySQL connection. And then we need to make a command and command text. On top of this, we need an adapter and a reader. Now this was all covered in part 3, I believe, or something like that. So go ahead and check out that part right now if you have no idea what's going on here. However, if you have a good idea of what's going on right now, go ahead and keep watching. So the first thing we're going to want to do is open up the connection, and then we're going to allow the command to actually execute something by giving it a command text. We also want the command to be able to connect to the server, so we're going to dim the connection as our preset connection. The adapter also needs to select the command. And last but not least, we are going to execute the command. Then we go down here and close our data and close our connection. Okay, so now that that's all said and done, if you remember when we went to Form 1, we actually said while data.read, and that is how we actually access the information inside our database, if you will. So the first thing we need to do is make a while data.read block, and while it's able to be read, we're simply going to add certain values to the list box, certain items. And you can go ahead and look through your database and see which item you want added to your list box. I'm going to add name to the list box, so everything will be sorted by name. Now remember, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, so name is 3. So what we're going to do is listbox1.items.add and then data3.toString. Just keep in mind that the first one starts with 0, and that's it. Okay, now that we've got all the items able to add to the list box, we actually need to set up the MySQL command. So this is going to be select that from new table. So it's just going to select everything from the new table, which is here. And then going to add every single item to the list box. Now what we need to do is actually set up a place where all the other information can be viewed. So we're just going to set up a nice label text box combo. So this is going to be username. And in order to make things simple, we're just simply going to name it to LBL username. And this one's going to be password. We're going to name it to LBL password. Alright, what else is there? There's name, I know that. So we're going to make a name label. This is great because I don't even have to worry about how much time this is taking because I've got all the time in the world. Okay, there is also favorite color. Just remember to rename your labels in order to easily keep track of them. And last but not least, favorite food. Okay, so we have this basic label set up, and what the program is going to do is it's going to add items into the list box, and then every time you select something from the list box, it will further fill these labels with the information that is stored in the database per that name. So what we're going to go ahead and do is make it so these labels can actually access that stuff. So we're not going to go directly from the database because that can create lag in the program every time you switch a user because it will have to resync with the database. But instead, we're actually, as soon as the list box items are being added, we're going to create a text file for every single user that the program can access at whenever it wants. So what we're going to do is, still in the while data.read column, right after we add stuff to the list box, we're going to say dim writer as new system.io.streamWriter, where you need to make a path. Let's just go to where our application is stored. You do this by myapplication.info.directory path, and then go ahead and add, let's just say, what the name is, and then we're going to also combine the ID, and then we need an extension .txt. Also going to make it so it does not append, it overwrites. So let me go over this line of code right here. We're creating a new stream writer that will write to wherever the application is stored, and the file will be called whatever the user's name is, and then their ID number. If we look back at our table, we have name, and ID number, so it's going to be those two combined, and then we're just going to make an extension of .txt. This just simply means that it will write a new document every time it needs to create a new user. Now what we're going to say is writer.write, and then we're going to specify everything that needs to go in. So obviously, if we look back at our table, we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 fields, so we need to fill it. And what we're going to do is actually separate it with an equal sign. .toString. So now that everything is being written into the file, we can actually just close that really fast. Okay, so now we've got a basic thing where it will fill the list box with all the users, and then it will write a text file with the user's information in it. So now what we need to do is actually access the text file every time the list box is changed. So you can go ahead and double click on the list box and make sure you're on the selected index changed property. This way, every time somebody just selects a different index or a different item in the list box, this will occur. So what we want to do is actually create... Wait, this will be problematic. What we first need to do is, right under public class form3, we're going to public a new list box. And this list box will keep track of the IDs. So, because the IDs are very important. So if you don't know what I did here, I just created a new list box for the whole project to use, and then every time a new user is being added to listbox 1, their ID is also being added to listbox 3. So in this case, every time listbox 1 changes, we need to make listbox 3 change to the same thing. So listbox 3.selected index equals listbox 1.selected index. So now we can dim reader as new system.io.streamReader. Now this will simply just read from the file that we specified earlier, so we can go ahead and just copy this. Now replacing data3 with listbox 1.selected item, because as you know, when we select the item, what we're selecting is the name, which is what we specified up here. So this will be the name, and then the ID is listbox 3.selected item. And then we just need to add the extension, which is .txt. And what do we got here? Oh yes, make sure you type toString at the end of every selected item. We're all good there. Now what we want to do is create a string that's able to split items, because as you know here, when we said writer.write, we split every item with an equal sign. So now what we want to do is read it and unsplit every item. So we're going to just call this split read, and make sure you put these parentheses at the end, because that means it's able to split as a string equal to reader.readToEnd. So we're just reading what's in the text file, and then we are taking it and splitting it into everything before and after equal signs. So then after we've done that, we can just go ahead and close the reader, because we do not need it anymore. Now what we want to do is actually populate the labels. So, okay. So split read will split it according to what it says up here. So data0.toString will become split read 0.toString. And data1.toString will become split read 1.toString, so on and so forth. So we're going to populate the labels accordingly. So we're going to type lbl name.text equals name, and then we're going to do colons to be fancy, and then add the split read 3.toString, because name was 3. We're also going to make name password, and then if we look back at our database, password is 012. Password is 2. That must mean username is 1. And this other information is, of course, coming right after this. So we're just going to add split read 4.toString, and then we're going to make favorite food. Split read. Sorry, I can't type today. 5.toString. So all we're doing here is reading this text file that we specified earlier, and remember we put all the contents of a certain member into that text file, and then we are simply splitting it by equal sign, and then we are just populating the labels. So I'm going to go ahead and test this out. So the first thing it's going to want to probably do is ask us for our username and password, and I don't remember what I set mine as. So I'm going to go ahead and have a look. Okay, so my username is Brandonio, my password is password. So it says username, password is password, and then I'm going to log in. Should log me in, unless we encounter an error. Oh, that would be an error. Okay, what it's doing is as soon as the first form is closed, it exits out of the program. So we need to go ahead and change this in Project, MySQL Tutorial Properties, and then scroll down where it says Shutdown Mode, say when last form closes. Now we can debug it properly. Username is Brandonio, password is password. Logging in. Okay, so we are here, and it looks like it has not grabbed all the information here. I'm not sure why, but it has only grabbed mine. But anyway, since it has only grabbed mine, it still works. As you can tell, as soon as I clicked on it, it populated these labels. Username Brandonio, password password, name Brandon, favorite color red, favorite food spaghetti. So that is all good. Oh wait, it did pop up those. Oh yes, because as you can see, if we go to browse, these ones do not have names, and we filled the list box with names. So all these are just blank. So if we scroll down using the arrow keys, you can see that it populates the labels with the various information. Now what we need to do is we need to create it so we can actually edit this information from inside the program. And this is very easy to do. All we need to do is create another SQL command and do a little form editing. So let's go ahead and get right to that. What we need to do is we need to make it so there is a certain mode called edit mode, where as soon as you do that, text boxes appear right after these labels and the information fills those text boxes. So our first step is to create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 text boxes and name them accordingly. So we're going to drag this one down by favorite food, and then we're going to name it txt underscore favorite food. This one we're going to put by favorite color, enlarge it, and then name it txt underscore favorite color. Name, we are going to bring over here, enlarge it, and make it txt underscore name. Password, oh, looks like I made one too many text boxes. Password, put it right in front of password, txt password. And then over here, right in front of username, we are going to make this one username. Sorry, that was my brother. So we're going to have to put all these text boxes after the labels. Now, when the user first starts the program, we don't want these labels to be, or these text boxes to be shown because they have not yet toggled edit mode. So we're going to go ahead and highlight them all and then change the visible property to false. So they will not be visible at first. However, we're going to add a checkbox to our program, and this checkbox is going to have the text of edit mode. So every time the user checks edit mode, these text boxes are going to appear, and they're going to populate with the information that can be edited. So we're going to go ahead and double check this, and it says checkbox 1 check changed. So this is every time the check is changed. So if checkbox 1.checked equals true, this obviously means that edit mode is enabled. So in this case, we are first going to make sure every text box is visible, so that we can then populate it. Username. And once every text box is visible, we can actually fill in the information. So we can do this by looking kind of up here at what these guys have. So txt name.text is going to be split read 3.toString. Txt password.text is going to be split read 2.toString. Txt username.text is going to be split read 1.toString. Txt favorite color.text is going to be split read 4.toString. And txt favorite food.text is going to be split read 5.toString. So now that that's done, as you notice, we have an error on every single one of the split reads, and this is because it is only declared for this function. So we're going to have to go ahead and change this by eliminating the dim and as string and even the parentheses, and then we're going to public that variable. So we're going to say up here public split read parentheses as string. And then when we scroll back down, we'll notice that no more errors. Now what we also need to do is make sure that these text boxes have a caption in label form. So what we need to do is copy this code from up here and just remove the split reads from it. So this can be done very easily with a good hand and the backspace button. So now that that's done, when edit mode is enabled, we are all good. Now we need to also set it so when edit mode is disabled. So when the checkbox is not checked, edit mode disabled. So we want to make sure all the text boxes are not visible anymore. Whoops. Okay, and then what we want to do is simply populate the labels back to the way they were. So we can just, once again, copy this code here, paste it in there. So now that the edit mode is enabled, we also need a way for users to submit the changes that they have made. We can easily do this with a button, and we're going to make this text say, submit changes. And once again, this button only needs to be enabled when edit mode is enabled, so we're going to change the visible property to false. And then if we go back into the coding, when edit mode is enabled, we need to make button 1 visible, and when edit mode is not enabled, we need to make button 1 not so visible. Okay, so now we've got the basic edit mode set up for our program with strict basic coding, but that was easy enough, right? Now what we need to do is actually get into the MySQL stuff when we submit the changes. So we're just going to go ahead and do what we do best and create another MySQL block. As you know, we just need a new connection, and we're going to make that a new connection, and then get the connection string from up here. We also need a command and a adapter and a reader. And then we're going to open the connection and close the data down here, close the connection down here. Well, we forgot the SQL query. And then we're going to make sure the command is using SQL query. We're also going to make sure command is using the specified connection. We're going to select the command with the adapter, and then we're going to make data equals command.execute reader as usual. Okay, so now that we've done that tedious process, once again, we can get straight into the MySQL coding. Now this one is very straightforward. Now, say you have an outdated version of a program, and then you wish to get a new version. You would be updating, right? So if you have an outdated version of the database, and then you want to change it, you would then update it. So therefore, we're going to use the update command. So update new table set, and this is where we get to be fancy. And so if we go back to the structure of our table, we need to set username. So set username equal, and then what we need to do is open an apostrophe and then say and txt username.text and close that apostrophe, comma, space, password. So the basic structure here, what we're doing is we're updating the new table and we're setting everything, which we're specifying here. We're just resetting that information with information provided. Now, written out, let me open Notepad for you. The code needs to look like this. Update new table set username equal to, and then the username right here. See how it's in the apostrophes? Well, that is pretty much what we're doing here, except since we need to insert this value right there, we need to make it crazy with the and signs. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with password. So password is equal to txt password. We're also going to do the same thing with name. Txt name.text. And let's say favorite color equals, and txt favorite color. And last but not least, favorite food. Text. And then what we need to do is simply state where ID equals, then we're going to open up quotations again, and then add listbox3.selected item. And close those guys, add a semicolon, close that, and we're good. So what we're pretty much telling the application to do is exactly what I've explained to you. We're updating the database, and we're setting the we're setting the username equal to what we specified, password equal to what we specified, name equal to what we specified, favorite color equal to what we specified, favorite food equal to what we specified. And then the MySQL is asking us, well, where do I update this stuff? And you're telling it, update it where the ID is listbox3.selected item. So we're updating it where this value, ID, is the what we specified before up here, listbox3.selected item. So it's pretty much just saying update it in the selected user, if that makes sense. Okay, so this should work, and after we're done updating, we want to make sure that the program reloads itself so it can reload the database and everything. So we're going to me.close, and then we're going to dim form3 as new form3, and then form3.show. So it's just going to reload the form once we update. So let's go ahead and start debugging. Log in again. Okay, so we select me, and as you notice, when we select edit mode, it automatically 1 creates the button, and then 2 puts all values in text boxes. So let's just say I change my favorite food to tacos. So we go ahead and retype tacos in the favorite food text box, and then we press submit changes. Once we do this, the form reloads. Oh, no it doesn't. Okay, well, since we closed the form, it ends up ending the program. So what we're going to do is when we log in, we're never going to actually close the login window, just so the last form never closes and the program stays running. So we're going to go ahead and log in once again. And as you notice here, when we select Brandon, my favorite food is now tacos. So we can now change "you just got Rickrolled" to name Rick Astley. I think that's how you spell it. Rick color is obviously blue because he wears a blue little tuxedo thing. And his favorite food, let's just say it's white wine because he's kind of a fancy guy. And then we're going to submit those changes. And then the form opens up, and Rick Astley now has a name. The information has been changed. So this is a really easy way to manage customer data, staff data, and all that stuff. However, it is kind of insecure. However, it still works. And it's fairly easy to code, as you've just seen. So thanks for watching my first over 15-minute tutorial. I hope you enjoyed, and I'm sorry if my coding was messed up and I messed up and stuff like that. But now, since it's the end of the video, I get to give you my little shout-out things. Make sure you check out my new website design. It might be implemented by the time you're watching this video. I don't know. You can go ahead and live support me. And I've actually received an email from somebody telling me that they didn't want live support because they didn't want to talk to me in person. Well, live support is actually text-based, so all you're doing pretty much is chatting with me. So if you want to just chat with me, you can go ahead and do that via the live help button on the bottom of my new website design, and it's right at the top of my old website design. Right there. Currently I'm offline, but so it's right there, easy for you to access. Thanks for watching, and remember to rate, comment, subscribe. I hope I didn't forget anything in this video, and thanks again for watching. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye.